This week on the Digital Marketing Scoop, we're talking with Josh and Kees from Spearline all about podcasting. Guys, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Hi guys, how are you keeping?
Very good now, can't complain at all.
Oh, very good.
So, Kees, Josh, you're from a company called Spearline.
Yep.
And you're doing your own podcast as well at the moment. You started one. When did you kick that off?
We started a podcast back in September, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And we were planning it in July, and then we kind of went, yeah, sure, we'll kick one off as well. Everyone else is doing it, so we might as well join the fray. But yeah, the whole reason why we wanted to do the podcast was like to introduce ourselves, like about the company, get our brand out there. Like Spearline is, it's a tech company that practically monitors free phone numbers for connectivity and audio quality. So, you know, it's a global project, and we've got offices over in Skibbereen and Waterford, India, Romania, and but the thing about it is that everyone was kind of going like, "Who are you guys?" So so the whole reason was like, you know, we're going to introduce the company, and everyone in different departments, and you know, like through an audio format, basically.
Yeah, very good.
I suppose that is a really good thing in the podcast is you can kind of, you know, educate your audience on exactly what you do, and you're not limited in terms of time or you know, in terms of article length or anything like that. You can literally go from 10 minutes to 3 or 4 hours if you really wanted to.
Exactly. And we're in kind of a niche kind of market as well, you know, audio quality, testing phone lines. There's not many podcasts like our one. Yeah. So it's a good opportunity to kind of, like you said, educate the marketplace and get out there.
We want to be kind of like seen as like tech leaders and stuff. So because it is very niche.
And the best thing about that as well is that like it's such a long form piece of content as well, but it's probably one of the only, besides YouTube, will say, where a long form piece of content is actually probably listened to 80% of the way through, if not more. Majority definitely. Of people, you're in the ears of your customers or potential customers for such a huge amount of time, and there's not really many other opportunities where you get that anymore.
Yeah.
So in terms, I suppose, of the reasons you started the podcast, I suppose on our own, one of the reasons were we're I suppose kind of niche. Every business needs marketing, I suppose, but I think there's going to be a lot less people who want to listen to marketing content.
Yeah.
And this is a really nice way to be able to educate and reach people on digital marketing and, of course, promote the brand Cliq. Was it kind of similar fee in educating customers on what you do? Because I know one thing you do as well is you're actually bringing in people from the organization, interviewing them, and I suppose as well it's a nice way for, you know, as you say, you're a company with a lot of different offices, and for people to actually kind of get to know people within the company.
Yeah, it definitely was. I suppose we wanted to kind of come across or bring across our culture that we have kind of in the company. Even existing customers that we have, they can, you know, they might be dealing with those people every day, but they don't really know them. They don't even know what they look like, maybe, you know. It's a nice way to kind of see the company. So.
And like we started filming some of the episodes as well. Like we recently had a customer engagement manager on, and like I'd say it must have been nice for the customer to actually go like, oh, that's who that's who It's like it's just all through audio, and like it is just a nice way to get to know everybody and to know what we do in different department and follow like a pipeline as well.
And you're seeing the benefits of it so far. Like you're seeing that the long form of content for you is proving a good route to have gone down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of today anyway. Podcasts are so popular.
Yeah.
That you know, like it's gotten, you know, good reaction from customers that we have, from hopefully potential customers. You know, we're getting good listeners. So it's turning out well.
Very good.
Excellent. So, in terms of the equipment you're using for your podcast, what are you using at the moment?
So we've these microphones.
Good stuff. The Rode. Can't go wrong in fairness.
Can't go wrong. And then we go through a Focusrite Claret preamp. So it's just 4 inputs. And then I put it into a Logic Pro DAW, so digital audio workstation. And then I record from there, do all the editing and stuff. And that's kind of it. We have a camera then as well, Panasonic G80, where we record everything with that. And
that's kind of it. We've our own little studio in the office. So we were lucky enough that we recently moved into a new office in Skibbereen, so we were able to actually build our own studio, which was great.
Yeah.
So I was able to make their soundproofing and get all the right equipment, and they kind of gave me a budget to work with, and it was excellent. So
that definitely makes it easier. I suppose the one thing people they do think that there's a barrier of entry, we'll say, to podcasting in terms of budget, but I mean, at the end of the day, you can literally pick up your phone and use an app like Anchor.
Yeah,
that's it.
It doesn't have to be especially when you're starting off.
No,
the microphones, the mixers, all that. It literally is. Download the Anchor. I think is a fantastic way for someone who just wants to start off. Like,
definitely.
One thing I would say is actually get a mic, though, even if you're getting a cheap mic.
You can tell the difference in audio quality, and stuff. So
And one thing that I'd be kind of a stickler for is audio quality.
Yeah.
So because I have a background in audio engineering as well, so I'm always like, get the best stuff that you can, just make it sound nice and
tip-top quality.
It does make a huge impact, though. I mean, even if you're not into the whole kind of audio side of it and stuff, like people instinctively can hear, like, even white noise and all of this kind of those little things actually make a huge difference to the perception of the level of quality of what you're putting out as well.
It builds up, and like it'll really annoy the listener. And it'll take them out of it. Like, I mean, the whole thing of a podcast is it's almost like, I remember reading before that people always see podcasts as you're listening in on a conversation on the train or whatever like that. But like, it's really perfectly good quality. And then if it's like there's pops and crackles and stuff like that, you just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
And like I've heard a fair few bad podcasts. I won't name them, but and it's just been like it's really hard to immerse yourself into it, and it's just it's terrible.
And even in your game, I mean, that's what you do. I mean, audio quality, so it would be unusual.
When it's representing the brand that way,
And it seemed fitting as well that we did a podcast series, and like you said, we're an audio quality company, so like it's it kind of made sense that we started up one as well. Like,
And there's actually a lot of studies done on audio quality in video and stuff like that. So when you have brilliant video, but you've bad audio quality, it still turns people off.
Yeah.
But if you've good audio quality, but kind of a mediocre picture, people will actually not mind looking at it. So.
Tracking through the 240p on YouTube videos.
Exactly. That's perfect. As long as the audio's good. In terms of the video side of things, then what have you been doing with that, and what kind of distribution have you been using with it?
So for video, we've been kind of, I suppose we record everything, and then I suppose similar to what you do, you make kind of little clips.
Chop it up, put
it on social media, so LinkedIn, YouTube,
Facebook and stuff.
And stuff, the usual channels that we'd use,
And you're primarily B2B as well, so I suppose the same as ourselves. How have you been finding engagement on LinkedIn in particular at the moment?
Fairly decent, alright.
Like we've been trying different things. So like first we had kind of longer clips, but we've kind of shortened them down now again because people seem to have very low attention spans.
I think that is great though. You use the short clips as your teaser, then your full length audio then can be, as you say, when you're commuting or in the car, wherever.
Exactly.
It's just that more passive kind of form of consuming.
It is, and like we're on LinkedIn every day, and like we would be watching the likes of Fraser and Mark Gageford and all those. They've been really putting out like really useful tips about like what listeners and what viewers want on LinkedIn and stuff. So like we've been trying to evolve the podcast, and we're going to keep evolving it for season 2 as well. Recently, actually, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was on Instagram using like 8-second clips or something on stories, and it's just these little tiny segments. It's like it's even shorter than what we have, and apparently it works. And it's really useful. So I'm going to try and experiment with that, I suppose, down the line. Like, obviously, but it's constantly keeping on top of things. Sure, you guys know yourself.
Yeah,
and stuff like that,
it's always changing.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing when I'm sitting down to start editing, I'm going, right, I need stuff in story size, I need stuff landscape, I need stuff square, I need stuff in 4x5, and I'm going, right, how am I going to? But once you actually get it all caught up, it's so beneficial. Like we've content across every platform, and we don't really need to worry about consistently create. The biggest problem for a lot of people is how am I going to create content this week? Like it's the blank slate. Whereas if you have something that you can just constantly kind of draw bits and bobs from, it's great.
And that is the great thing about a podcast is you can sit down. Now all the planning that goes into it beforehand there's a huge amount of work, but you can get, if you're working with clients wherever, they come in, they sit down, do a half-hour podcast. From that half hour, you can generate hundreds of pieces of content.
Absolutely. You can really milk it for the rest of the week.
100%. We've become pros at that.
Because one thing we found as well was we did little quotes, but just in graphics. So it was just a quote from the podcast. And that seemed to really get a lot of traction as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange which things work and which don't.
We've actually started trying that this week and they've gotten decent traction. Now the thing is that when we were pulling all the quotes to begin with, there was some quotes where we were like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Oh God, did I say that out loud?
That's a typo.
Wow, I'm so deep. But
put on a cat poster.
Yeah, but the ones we have used are doing good. I mean, but like that, it's sometimes it's like, right, I can get lots of still frames for what I do with them. Will I make a quote card like that? Or there's loads of things you can do with them. It's great. Yeah.
You guys recently changed up the graphics on your video. And
we
like
recently got a new designer, Matt. So he's come in and he's now designing. We have just, like Jen was saying, we just have so much content now from one podcast.
Oh, that's great.
So going in and just creating lots of different graphics around the codes for Instagram stories. There's just so much that comes out of it.
And I was tired of putting up videos where at the very start I was like,
freeze frame.
Scrolling through I just realized on a podcast no one can but actually what we do with those is when we take the thumbnail that he sends on is we just shorten it down to half a second at the start of it and it auto pulls that as a thumbnail across LinkedIn and everywhere then, so it just
try and increase the engagement and the click-through rate on it.
A
nice thumbnail.
Well, we tried that recently. The designer we have, Kevin Corcoran, He's always looking into, how do you improve on thumbnails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we noticed as well that, I don't know, do you know Mr. Beast? He's one of the YouTube.
Yes, follow him on Twitter.
His thumbnails are so simple and they're really in your face. So it's just like a picture of him and then this huge writing saying something kind of, I don't know, I gave this lad 5,000 grand or something like that. They seem to work very well. It's so simple. But
very clickbaity. But it works. That's surprising.
And I suppose the thing as well is about knowing it's going to be different for every market as well. But that type of in your face stuff, generally, even on B2B and everything, it does seem to work quite well. But the psychology around thumbnails in general is very interesting.
Color wheels and all this.
You're taking me back to my final year of college for media psychology.
Where are you on your brand essence wheel?
No, I've done my thesis. Leave me alone.
So lads, actually, just to take it back to the beginning of the process for you, because I know there's going to be a lot of people listening and they've probably been thinking about starting a podcast. What made you to kind of push you to take the step? Because I think a lot of people are like, we'll think about it, we'll see, and it probably never gets done. What kind of put you over the line to start?
Well, it was kind of a passion project for the two of us, really. We had one back in 2018 as well. But that was like a previous season. And we wanted to kind of reboot, refresh. It seemed fitting as well, launching in September because we moved building, like Ace was saying, and everything seemed bigger and newer. And it was the perfect time to kind of go all right, we're going to nail in on that and do it. And and then it kind of just went from there. It was something to look forward to in a month, and scripting and stuff. So I do get that I remember back in college and I was really itching to go on a podcast. I'd worked in radio stations and it was just always kind of interesting because I'd found a couple of podcasts and I was like, I'd love to do that. And then I'd be kind of sitting there what would I talk about? Who wants to listen to me? So I get that it's very daunting. But it's kind of just you you're your own worst enemy, and you kind of have to just kind of push yourself out there and just go
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to plan out, like, but make sure you have a plan. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah, I think so too. I think planning is probably the most important thing.
Yeah,
You know, to have kind of, I suppose, an idea of what you're going to talk about.
yeah. Even if you don't have a guest, and if it is literally like, I'm going to be talking to a microphone for 30 minutes, and you kind of have to have like a sheet or whatever like that, and just kind of like occasionally look and be like, okay, I know what format and what way to follow through. But yeah, the podcast, like we knew that the whole reason to start off with was to introduce the company, introduce people who worked here. But we were kind of following the pipeline of like the Spearline platform and like the different stages that we'd be going through, like development and customer engagement and support and stuff. So that was really helpful, that it actually helped like kind of guide us around. So, and we're hoping that happens again for season 2 again. So
Very good.
Yeah.
Do you have salespeople actually? Have you had salespeople on it yet?
Not
actually,
yet.
not yet.
That'll be
yeah. So one thing I have found interesting is that when people are seeing you on LinkedIn over and over and over again, that when you actually go into a company and you're meeting them for the first time, but they've been seeing you for 3 months on LinkedIn, and they kind of feel, you know, there's more of a connection there straight away, as opposed to it's more of it feels less of a sales meeting and more of a lovely chat kind of.
Again.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think it's a great medium when you combine it with the video and the audio. I think it's a great way for, as you say, for people just getting to know people, but particularly if you've people going out in a sales environment, I think it's absolutely fantastic because
and that's one thing we were saying as well. For this season, now we want to bring on some of the sales guys just to chat about it and
tell them not to sell.
that's the hard thing. And that's one of the reasons we didn't.
We somehow avoided them for season 1, but but yeah, we do plan on getting some of the ones. Like, it's handy because there is salespeople actually in the Skibbereen building now.
Okay,
So like before it was just up in Waterford, but now that we have them in Skibbereen, it's just literally like, do you want to go down for half an hour? And then like, so
brilliant.
But yeah, you guys, like we were saying there, like you guys do like a weekly podcast, and like that's so much pressure because there is so much effort and steps taken into
Annual
making a
leave
podcast.
is a nightmare.
There's no holidays here.
But sometimes we get them done in bulk. I mean, like today we'll be recording this one at 3 p.m. We're recording another one.
With
a guy in the States, I think. And if I'm wrong there, that's so embarrassing. But
we cut it.
Edit.
Like sometimes doing them in bulks. So sometimes we'd do 2 and then we might do 2 later in the week, and then that's actually the month's done.
Oh,
Yeah.
very good.
You know?
Very good.
So when you do break it down like that, it does make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
That's
True.
say if
That's
someone's
true.
on holidays for a week or 2, then you have, you know, everything's backed up. It's-
Yeah.
Ready to go.
It makes a massive difference, and we're actually going to be rearranging the place soon, where we're going to be doing podcasts for clients.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
And again, we want to try and have them on a weekly. So what we'll be doing is bringing them in twice a month.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing just two episodes on each session, we'll say,
Okay.
and then that's their month of content then as well.
Oh, brilliant.
And then it'll come back to us then for all the chopping. They don't have to worry about it.
They do the easy bit.
But yeah, it's like, I would say weekly it's great from a consistency point of view, from that every week. So it's going out, people are seeing the content every week. But I think, again, it does depend on your industry, where you're like, if you were interviewing people internally every week, it would be very difficult, I would imagine. Whereas maybe the month is a much better
we kind of
platform
found
for you.
Yeah, we kind of found that because I suppose we're working around people's schedules the whole time as well.
Yeah.
And I suppose because we'd have, you know, full-time jobs as well, so we're pretty busy anyway. So we're always trying to, I suppose, juggle.
Work around them.
We're trying to work around them and then do everything. So that's why we kind of decided to do one a month to keep for us to keep the quality up and stuff. And
Yeah.
so that's why we kind of decided that.
Yeah, and the amount of editing time as well that needs
That's
to
it.
be in the back of your mind as well, because
You kind of forget about it sometimes.
like us sitting here is just 10% of the effort that goes in. Really, it's the aftermath. Dave is looking at me going,
He knows all about it.
It's okay. We feel your pain. It's like Kees was saying though. It's like you're nearly working around your guests.
Yeah.
And like I usually do the monthly forecasts for our content. So like I'd be doing the I'm the technical writer, and like I'd be doing all the blogs and stuff, and like I'm in the forecast. Then I'd kind of like be planning, okay, what can we do for that month? Okay, this person's going to be gone for 2 weeks or whatever like that, and like what topic will we have? How do we keep it relevant? Oh, something's trending at the moment. We might jump on that. Yeah. You know, there's a load of things to factor in. And like, I think a lot of people don't realize that when they make podcast interviews, like whatever about like podcasting just on your own, that's fine. But like when it's like you're actually doing an interview, like you can't go in blind. And I think a lot of people think that it's just that. Like I know a podcast is a conversation.
Yeah.
But it's a planned conversation.
You need to guide it somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's always better to be prepared. Like what if your forecast doesn't go to plan? What do you do then?
Yeah.
You said you're going to be coming out with a podcast next week. Oh no.
Yeah.
Have a backup.
So that's why like even here in front of us we have like the 6-point system is what we're using really, and it's just we're not scripting anything. We're just saying look, these are 6 questions we're going to touch on, and then when the conversation slowly starts to fade off and one where you're picking up straight away.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's all it really is just having that little up again just to keep the conversation
And it's
going.
organic too, because half the question, half of what we've been discussing today probably isn't on this list either, but it's just giving you the guide basically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, like we found there as well with some of our guests who have been nervous coming on that we've had the guide sheets as well, and like they've found that really useful. Some of them have even actually like answered them, and then they haven't even stuck with it at all. Like it's impressive because like they'd be sitting there and they'd be so nervous when the camera comes on, and then it's just like becomes a natural conversation. And next thing you know, they're throwing the sheets in the bin and they're talking to me, and then they're taking over the podcast. So like it's funny how things like that work. So.
Definitely, I actually think there's something psychological to the sheet for me because I rarely look down on it, but then it's there.
If it's needed,
it's there. That's all I need to know.
It's a reassurance.
Yeah.
There was a great late night host in the States called Craig Ferguson, and anytime he'd come out, they'd all have their cards and their questions, and he just picked them up and ripped them up at the start of the interview.
Brilliant.
Very dramatic, but it is like obviously the more natural I think something is, the better. But it's just going in knowing, okay, these are the general topics we're going to discuss, and as you say, if you've a complete brain fart, at least then you have that that in front of you, and it's there.
Exactly. And if you have an epiphany, then you can veer off a little.
Exactly,
and we can slowly rope it back.
Speaking of which, question 5.
Oh yeah, we have questions.
So in terms of distribution, we're using Buzzsprout to get it out onto iTunes, Spotify, all of those. What are you using yourselves?
We've Buzzsprout
as well.
Same,
Interesting. Very good.
Yeah, and they recently released some new analytics.
They changed up their analytics.
So which was good. I think it kind of needed it.
I like the new one.
It makes the numbers look higher, which we'll take.
It's great.
Cumulative.
Helps the ego.
And we kind of touched on this earlier as well, but regarding social, obviously LinkedIn is a big platform for you. In the B2B space, how are you finding Instagram and Facebook for you?
So Facebook, we use more or less for the company culture.
Okay.
So kind of events that happen around the company. I suppose like
Diwali was one of them there that we celebrated. And like that got a lot of traction and stuff. And it was just posting a couple of pictures of us eating.
Sounds very Instagram. Really
well. But yeah, no, it is to help celebrate the culture.
Instagram, I suppose we don't utilize it as much. It's similar to kind of what we do on Facebook. So usually what I post on Facebook, I kind of make an Instagram post around that as well.
Yeah.
Like LinkedIn is kind of LinkedIn and Twitter will be the 2 channels that we would concentrate on mostly.
We'd be pretty much the same. We'd be LinkedIn. Well, actually, our Instagram is doing a little better since we started kind of really pushing out IGTVs. Then we'd have Twitter next, and then Facebook would kind of be lower down for us then. But that's just a B2B system as well. Like that, we should probably start using Facebook in a different way, the same way you're kind of using it. You're not thinking of the B2B side; you're just using it as a cultural awareness kind of side of things. Which is interesting.
IGTV, like, has that been beneficial for you guys or anything? Like, we haven't used it at all.
It's purely beneficial for me because when I edit it, it's longer than a minute always. So I've had to use it.
You have a nice interaction with stories on it as well.
Yeah, so it's the only way you can really link back to the posts unless you have the 10,000 followers. So we have you can use the swipe up feature, and that does kind of well on it as well.
Yeah.
But that being said, we've probably only been doing that for a few weeks now. So it'll actually be interesting to see as well, because I think Instagram are planning on monetizing IGTV. So I imagine when they do that, they'll be pushing that a little bit more in the feeds.
I saw a post about that on LinkedIn. I think it was one of Fraser's the Friday social rundown episodes. Actually, he was mentioning about that, and I was kind of surprised that they weren't doing that beforehand. Like, because I'd be scrolling through Instagram all the time, and like so many people would be putting like 5 to 5 minute videos on IGTV, and I was like, what is going on? Like, I didn't even know about it or anything. I was kind of confused. But
where it'll be interesting, I think, is that we'll say anybody with long form content who wants to monetize at the moment, really they're using YouTube. That's really it. So it will be interesting that this could potentially be a platform to try and take on YouTube.
I think so.
Because it'll incentivize creators to actually produce content for IGTV, which probably isn't a massive incentive there at the moment.
We're gonna make it now.
Cliq's going big.
You've made 7 cents.
Back in the net.
But like, that's such a surprising thing, because like YouTube, like there's so many content creators that I've seen, and they've like migrated to Twitch.
Yes.
And like they've just completely abandoned YouTube as a platform. Like, I mean, and all the stories you'd hear about YouTube and stuff. Like, and this isn't slandering YouTube, I'm sorry. But it's just surprising what's been happening. Like how all these content creators have just kind of like had to just jump platform and just to thrive and to keep going.
They apparently they're demonetizing over so much basically that people can't actually express themselves the way they want to express themselves, so that's why people are going to jump.
And there's no core competitor. Like you were discussing this in a previous podcast before. It's actually what was it? One of your predictions for 2020?
That somebody would start competing with YouTube on the video space.
There is nothing to that scale.
No.
And it would be surprising to see.
What you do have is niche platforms coming up.
Yes.
So like I've seen ones around like documentaries, but they're almost creating like little mini Netflix type platforms almost.
Right,
so like there's one, I think a bunch of creators on YouTube came together. I think it's called Nebula. And they're producing their long form documentary content more for that, and actually just using YouTube then as the platform they put out really good content on YouTube, but it's sponsoring it will be their documentary platform. So it's a very interesting way of we can't produce what we want to produce for YouTube because they're not paying us for it basically. We'll put that content on this platform and charge £3 a month for it, and if we can get 100,000 people over time, happy days.
Exactly. I think, like you said, I think it's going towards that now. And it makes sense. I think it does anyway. So it's a lot. Like YouTube as a platform, I think is amazing. The app, everything works really well. But I think it's just when you grow so big and you have all these massive advertisers, and then the massive advertisers don't want their ads showing a particular content. It's just a natural thing that's going to happen. So I think you're going to have more of a grassroots effort in that space start appearing again. But it probably won't be a one big massive player. You'll have the little niche platforms over time.
I mean, it's happening with like TV shows. We always talk about it like Disney Plus and Netflix and all that. Like there's all these niche things happening. Like what's going to happen with content creators? Is there going to be more niche? So
it's amazing, because like in the back of my head before that all kicked off, I was like, no one's gonna compete with Netflix. I love Netflix, and I'm like, I need to watch Jennifer Aniston on the new Apple version. What's happening? Do I get a free trial? How does this work?
Now there's like 6 or 7 of them, and I'm barely keeping up with it anymore now. Like it's mad. Like
I actually went through my bank statement last month. I was like, I need to unsubscribe from so many things. So I was just like, what is happening?
And that's the thing. It's like as the move away from TV comes, you're going to have like probably 2 or 3 you'll subscribe to, and then something will come out, and you'll go, okay, I'll get rid of that one. I'll subscribe to this one. Exactly.
They get you with the free trials. That's what it is.
Apple more than anything, because it's just like, you take it for a year, and then a year later it's not automatically coming out, and you're like, all right, fine.
I need it now.
So jumping back to podcasts. Going off the script. So guys, if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get started, I'm going to start a podcast. If you like distill like 3 things at the beginning that would really help them along that journey, what do you think those would be?
Yeah, like I think anyway the main one would be just a plan ahead, kind of make a plan of what you're going to do, what you want to do. What was the other one now?
That's what the notes are for.
Subtle out.
That's why I put them on the screen, so at least if I'm looking, it's just kind of it's almost like I'm looking at the microphone.
Almost.
It's a really interesting microphone.
Bro.
So like that actually comes to my next point. have good audio quality. I always think try to get the best audio quality that you can get. Sometimes you can't get, the most expensive microphones, but there's other cheaper ones out there. Like I have the Blue Yeti as well. And it was only 80 quid. Like you can get cheaper ones than that as well. But just to have something good that makes it sound good. So
there's some really nice ones as well. I think Shure do one that you can plug straight into your iPhone or into your Android.
Fantastic as well.
But it is
Zoom as well.
Zoom,
they're really good.
Yeah.
There's definitely there's no shortage of them out there if you go looking.
Definitely not. And even on like adverts.ie and stuff like that, the secondhand places, you can get really good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
From someone else who had a podcast dream.
Marketing on that.
The podcast microphone graveyard.
And the third point is that it's okay to make mistakes, and I think a lot of people need to realize that you can fumble on a podcast. Not everything is going to have to be RT news or kind of interview style. Like, I mean, it's just a conversation. And if anything, we found anyway in our podcast, you probably have as well, that if the presenter is kind of fumbling about and making mistakes, like there's been plenty of times where like I've gotten tongue twisted, and then the person has immediately just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
That's why our guests are so comfortable.
You guys are comfortable, right?
But yeah, I think there's a bit of a stigma, and it can hold people back from starting off their
It's
own
a
podcast.
constant aim for perfection where and perfection will never be achieved, and editing is a great thing.
Exactly.
So you have those 2 things to your disposal as well.
Exactly. Yeah. But also at the moment, I've been finding on LinkedIn videos and Instagram that people kind of like to see these mistakes.
Yeah.
It's almost this raw kind of like, it's just raw content.
That's exactly what makes it authentic.
Yeah.
Like you'll often find like the bloopers will get nearly more attention.
Exactly.
Than the content.
But like, I mean, thinking back, that stems back to when I was a kid, I was a kid, I would still do it. I loved watching bloopers on movies and stuff like that, like behind the demo reel, and like them just messing about and just like it I don't know, it just made it more enjoyable.
It looked like fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked like fun.
So it's they're the 3 points I say I would make. Yeah.
Brilliant. Lads, that was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was great.
If people want to find out a bit more about Spearline, where should they head to?
Spearline.com.
Nice and easy.
We're on Buzzsprout, we're on Spotify, iTunes. The Spearline Podcast season 2 is going to be kicking off hopefully by the end of the week. And
brilliant. We'll put a link to that in the show notes for anyone listening.
Great.
Perfect.
Thanks again for having us, guys. And it's nice actually being in the studio and not looking at it from a LinkedIn video.
Fantastic.
Right,
thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, William.
That's been this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop.